this happened to you, how would you react? Would you be able to protect your personal freedom? Debbie Gardner would like you to know that yes, you can. Debbie was an Ohio deputy sheriff for 8 years and one of the first women street patrol officers in the U.S. She is the author of Survive, Don't Be a Victim, published by Warner Books. And as founders of the Survive Institute, Debbie and her husband Mike have been touring the United States teaching people like you that with the power of love and skills you already possess, you can protect yourself in the event of a personal attack.
The experts say that crime is the #1 problem today. I say that it's the fear of crime that's the problem. The emphasis of this training is going to be about dealing with that fear. We will give you the power to adjust your belief system and show you how to save your life in the event of an attack. I believe that when your heart and your mind agree, that your hands and your feet will do whatever it takes to survive violent crime. When I went to work for the sheriff's department, I assumed I'd have a desk job in the juvenile division. I'll never forget the day they told me I was going to be a street patrol officer. I was terrified. My academy training had been extensive, but I knew I needed more. I trained at a local karate school 4 nights a week, all day on Saturday. People who knew me said, "Debbie, you're obsessed with self-defense." The truth is, I was obsessed with fear. I live by a very simple rule. Take all the training possible, be the best. Then if you're attacked, perfection will guarantee your safety. Right? Wrong. One night I learned a very painful lesson. I'm minding my own business right before we graduate from the academy, and I'm leaving a restaurant, nice part of town, and geez, it was an early night. One of the detectives was promoted, and you know how you do with folks at work, you go out, you have a meal, a couple of drinks, you go home. And I'm walking to my car, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, this nut came and shoved a gun, boom, right in my stomach, and said, "Get in the alley and get your clothes off." And I bet you're wondering how this highly trained, highly motivated, almost first street patrol officer in her area responded to her first personal crisis. Are you ready? Yes, sirree, I lost it. By the grace of God, my story is not pitiful like so many victims of crime. 2 narcotic detectives were inches behind me. That was my first lesson about people who are on drugs, is they don't see reality. They see what they want to see. Of course, this man just saw me. And that gun came, and these 2 guys, as I lost control, they were brilliant. Now, they were narcotic detectives. They were dressed like bums, T-shirts, blue jeans, long hair. They even smelled. Part of their job. So obviously, this poor fella didn't realize these were 2 cops, and they smashed him into a brick wall, and I ran across the street and hid behind a pole this wide, just enough to cover my eyes, because I was still living with mental monsters, even with all that training, things like, if you don't see it, it's not really happening. Sabotage mental statements. So I got to tell you something. In all of this chaos, it turns out within seconds there was this crackling noise, and the gun fell to the ground. It broke into several pieces because I was assaulted in the dead of the night with a toy gun. First I froze, then I ran, then I hid and prayed and cried. Now, would you like me patrolling in your neighborhood? Let's be perfectly blunt about it. Of course not. Do my credentials mean anything? No, because I could not use any of my training. I'll tell you, the devastation, the defeat, the betrayal was it just destroyed me. I knew I had to leave the program. So that's my story, and I will share with you, as I was so desperate for help, like I know you are, there was a couple of things that really annoyed me. And the first was people who constantly wanted to waste my time with crime statistics. I don't care about crime statistics. One attack is one too many, especially if that attack is against you, me, or somebody we love. How many agree with that philosophy? Yeah, geez. Thank you. I'm glad you're sensitive to it. The second thing that I promised not to do is to stand up here and to recite tips and precautions and one-liners. And I'm not here to insult you and talk down to you and belittle you. Who in this room will admit you've sidestepped stuff? Come on, you've had challenges. My job is just to fine-tune you to the next level. And I just truly also want to prepare you that some of the well-meaning pieces that you read, you need to continue to live your life choosing what you believe and what you don't believe. You're allowed to not believe, because some of this information is ridiculous. Let me explain what I mean. Tips like never walk alone. How many of you have violated that several times today? Raise your hands proudly. Right. And it continues to be printed, not just for children, for grown adults. Here's another one. Never talk to strangers. Well, I don't know what you do for a living professionally, but I guarantee if you don't talk to strangers, you'll probably be fired. This is nuts. And then you see, it's the ultimatums in the statements that drive me nuts, like, always look under your car. I go crazy with these absolutes. I understand logically what they mean, but I want to share with you, I've seen too much of the pain they cause on the reverse end. Now, see, you've already dismissed this stuff, or you wouldn't have laughed so loud. And I got to tell you where you're not going to be laughing, and that's the day in your life you are caught off guard, and it's not your fault. And somebody comes out of nowhere. You handle yourself brilliantly, and come on, it's chaos. You're going to have scrapes and bumps and bruises. And just, they'll send you off in an ambulance, and you might need that medical attention. And as you show up at the hospital setting, guess what's going to happen to you? People who love you are going to find out, and they're going to come rushing to the place you're, oh, I love you so much. Oh, my God, are you all right? Oh, we love you. And they're just going to fall apart. And then as you pull yourself together, they'll pull themselves together. It's 5 minutes now, and then they'll say something they don't really mean. They're going to say something like, why were you alone? Oh! Didn't I tell you you shouldn't have? And all of a sudden, these rules that you and I know are not fair are going to get slammed in your face, and then you'll wonder why you're in therapy 5 to 10 years. And I have to tell you, from the tremendous victims that I have had the privilege of meeting over time, most of their pain is not about the attack. For crying out loud, they survived the attack. It's about the constant reminder of guilt that somehow they played a part in their destiny that caused this problem. You got to cut it out, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to treat our victims with more respect, that they didn't ask for anything. And also, in an adjustment of tips, I'd love those papers to say some crimes are not preventable. Isn't that true? We have a viciousness and element intoxicated on drugs and alcohol that today, it doesn't matter what we do to be safe. If they want us, the challenge is on. The question is, how can we survive something we can't stop? So we need to learn to celebrate a little bit more on this subject and stop criticizing. So I'm going to move you past that and just summarize by saying that there is a tip that I wish you would read over and over and over. And that is this, that you live in the finest country in the world. And in this country that's based on freedom, we have the right to go anywhere we need to go, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You know, now there's risk in some of our choices because freedom doesn't guarantee that life is risk-free. But for crying out loud, those of you who choose to work second shift or third shift, or who are put in a long quality day and don't get out till dark, criminy sakes, you have that freedom to make those choices. My job is to help you when that extra risk is there to handle yourself. So please don't give up this free movement that I know you have the right to have ownership of. That's the tip that I want you to really have loudly in your heart. Let the other guilt-oriented stuff go. So now that you've got the inside put together a little bit, I want to get back to the night I was assaulted, because one of the most dramatic lessons of my life were experienced that particular evening, and I would never redo my life and eliminate that event because it changed my thinking. I was horrified about why I shut down and why these two police officers were so brilliant and could respond. And yes, they had experience, but I had training, several times more professional training than them put together. But still, they had something deep inside that I didn't even know how to talk about it. And what was the magic? So I'm going to ask you, have you ever been really afraid before? Truly terrified? Can you admit it to yourself and to me? The nod of your head? Yeah. And something changes. It's not about us being mental wimps. There's a true physiological change. And I want you to think about for just a second where you were, and odds are darkness had a lot to do with your feeling of fear. And come on, how do you react? Forgive me. I needed to do something very dramatic to pull out a natural response, because this is the way it is. People say, I froze. No, you didn't freeze. Turkeys and chickens freeze. What you and I do when we're caught off guard, startled, alarmed, terrified, is we hold our breath. Did you just experience that? You suck in everything you own as if you've been punched in the stomach. So, what did I fail to do that these two police officers knew to do? Ready? They were breathing, and I wasn't. I kept thinking it was going to be a technique about this big, when in fact it was something so simple and basic, I looked right past the bottom line. Can you believe this? And what you have to understand is that when you and I deplete ourselves of oxygen through terror, it explains why we are as stiff as a board. That's the phrase we use. Why we can't move our hands and move our legs and dial a phone. Come on. Add to that the additional complication of your physiology, what's going on inside of your skin. Your heart is pounding wildly. Who in this room knows exactly what I'm talking about? And I don't know if you understand that phenomena. They call it preparation for the fight or flight syndrome. Well, that has little to no meaning to most people. What really is going on is your heart, which is about as big as your fist, when you're terrified, takes on huge amounts of blood. It's pumping wildly because it's flooded. And in these split seconds, that blood now that's flooding your heart, realize where it came from. Your head, your hands and arms, and your legs. So we're now talking about your limbs and head having little to no oxygen and blood, and we wonder why we struggle putting our key into the lock. Come on, your keys are already in your hand. You just cannot get it in the lock. Well, that's true. Little to no blood and oxygen, that manual dexterity is gone. A lot like when your hand is frozen in the winter without a glove on. You don't have these tiny skills. It also explains why people misdial emergency numbers. Even 911, as short as that is, people will acknowledge misdialing it because fingertip movement is just beyond ability. And these moments that are critical. And when you've got to get a response with blood movement, I'm going to share with you, the bottom line is you learning the importance of literally getting a grip. Besides breathing deeply, I'm going to teach you that you have to respond by getting a grip. When you can open and flex your hands, even just this much, it's amazing how you pull the blood back into this organ. And your heart is fabulous. It's just like a pump. And when you send blood to this arm by the fist, you're also going to have it sent back into your head, back into your legs. So all of a sudden, where your legs before wouldn't move because there was no blood and oxygen in them, now it's fueled with blood, fueled with oxygen. So literally, in terms of pulling yourself together, number one, you got to know to breathe from your gut, not your throat like you're breathing now, recovery breathing. Like an athlete. Athletes know how important it is to breathe from their stomach. And secondly, you've got to get a grip, because when you can force that blood movement back, now your body will move. And it's real exciting in getting this grip. You know about this in other aspects of your life. So let me put this in the real world, the power of gripping. Most of you drive a car, and how many of you admit you're great defensive drivers? I mean, come on, there's snow and ice and fog and stuff. And we don't sit in the car terrified doing nothing. Most of the time, we have a brilliant response in a car when there's a crisis. Think about it. And all of a sudden, you're able to decide, I should turn right. Not only do you think about it, you turn right, and you move your foot from the gas pedal to the brake. There's only one reason you have the ability to do that. How do you drive a car? What position is your hands in? Yeah, you're gripping. In fact, most of us, come on, because of power steering with these nice cars now, you drive with one hand. Delicious beverage in this hand. Come on, think about the morning drive. You know you do. Except when the weather's bad. When the weather's bad, how do you drive? Two hands. Let me break the news to you. Driving with two hands has nothing to do about better controlling the car. When you're driving with two hands, who are you better controlling? Yeah, yourself, because you need that feeling that blood and oxygen is moving. And it's just these insides that we just don't discuss. Tragically, too many of us are loaded with absolute negativity and guilt in the middle of a problem. Come on, this is you and me leaving work late because we work overtime. We're thinking about all the people in our family be screaming at us because we're late again. And so there you are walking in the parking lot. Come on. And the bad feeling hits that something's going down. And this is you and me. Oh, my God, I shouldn't be here. Oh, no, oh, my God. We go right into all this, I shouldn't. Negative thinking takes over. So split seconds to pull it together to deal with the problem. No, you and I are on a guilt trip. And we wonder why we are so easily abused. So I need to help you get out of this negativity frame and pick up instead very, very strong thoughts for power and courage, natural power and courage. And you know, although I don't know all of you personally, I got to tell you something. As a group, I know that there's one aspect of your life where you are naturally ferocious. And it deals with people you love. Come on, think about your spouses, your children, your parents, cousins, nieces, nephews, horses, fish, dogs, or cats. Come on, everybody's got somebody that needs them. Now, just visualize this for 1 minute. You leave this session today, you go home, open the door, somebody you passionately love is being assaulted before your very eyes. Are you going to stand there and freeze? Or are you going to say to yourself, you touch my child, I'll knock you across the street? Now see, what burns me up is I haven't even taught you how to do this yet, and you're telling me you already can. That's right. Of course you can. It is in you naturally to protect people you love. You touch my mother, I'm dangerous. You see, I am here today to convince you in this series of training that it is not on the outside that you need more help. The help is on the inside. I need to help you know that everything you need you've got. The lamps are there, I'm turning on the lights, and that you are naturally equipped with everything, because when your heart and your backbone says go for it, your hands and legs takes over. Trust me. So therefore, a new tip, in addition to your rights that I want you to live with, is if anybody ever attacks you, they're not attacking you. They're attacking people that need you. In other words, Debbie translated, you touch me, you're attacking my daughter. That makes me ferocious. And it's true. Because if I don't come home a whole person, who really sobs but my kids and my husband? Come on, our bucket of tears is full, no doubt about it. But when you really think about the impact that crime has on extended families, we could flood this room. And that is the tragedy. So fighting for you is fighting for them. Does that make sense? So let's getting back to your mindset. Instead of this negativity in your brain and the guilt, cut it. When you're feeling uncomfortable with danger out there from now on, immediately screen, picture, boom, people that you love. And I guarantee your backbone will adjust immediately. Immediately. Natural juices have taken over. And all of a sudden, the performances I'm going to lay out for you become second nature. So now that you know that, the new you leaves here today. Breathing deeply, getting that fist going, getting the thing into your loved ones, and watch out. You're different. So now we've dealt with the inside force, issues I didn't really have a handle on the night I was assaulted. And now I need to move you on to really dealing with the outside challenges, because they're out there. And yet, in the meantime, we got to live every day. So what I need to do is explain to you that in terms of the society, most people are law-abiding, decent, caring people. However, there are a few criminals everywhere we go, and the tragedy is they dress like us, they look like us, we can't necessarily know who they are. And let's just clearly identify the us and them syndrome. As I look at all of you, on the outside you're golden people. I can see you're golden people. You care, you help, you give, you donate, you trust. And what's tragic is an awful lot of people want to put us down for words like that. Well, he trusts too much. Listen. The day the masses stop trusting each other, you better stop eating out at restaurants. You better stop driving your car. I'm sorry, democracy is founded on trust. We are not the problem. Trusting isn't the issue. It's the people who don't trust or aren't worthy of trust. So the question is, how do we play the game? Now, some of you are so golden in church, you know who you are. You don't even fit on my chart. Don't raise your hands. And don't apologize. Pretty much through the day, we have temperament changes, degrees of goldenness, depending on who you work with. And all of us know there are some people we work with that just get under our skin, cause us to go orange. You got to really work on your mind to bring yourself back to gold for dinner. This is us, come on. And listen, it is very healthy that we have this orange movement, very healthy, because there's where our power starts to shine. And I want to share with you what Mike and I witnessed through our police careers is that golden people are slow, if ever, to move to the further place, something we call blood red choices. And I got to share with you, those who commit hideous, violent crime are all wrapped up in blood red choices. Do you hear what I'm saying? They wake up for all kinds of problems, and I'm not here to discuss why those problems exist. But listen to me, when they wake up with hate and rage, and all of a sudden they're in the same parking lot as you and me, on the same sidewalk, when they come and encounter us, are they going to be so inspired by our goldenness that they just stop violence? Are they going to play our game our way? Of course not. If there's an encounter on the street, who has to change? You and I. And you know, we as educators have been expecting you to fight effectively without giving you the truthful bottom line. And that's been the void, and today that's going to change. So you're going to be fired up by what I teach you about blood red. You're not going to like it. And let me tell you right now, it has nothing to do with that phrase, common sense. Let me tell you something. Common sense is not an issue in violent crime. What you need to survive is uncommon sense. Some of the most despicable, ugly choices that will ever go through your brain, I will expose in terms of blood red choices to save your life, okay? Now, as much as there are golden people in this room, there are 4 violent criminals. And as a professional, out of every audience I address, it is my job to pull them free. And the first is this guy. You're big, you're massive, and you think if you wear this little tie, come on up here, that you can disguise yourself, and that just isn't true. Yeah, and there's evidence. Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry, you come on up here. These little crochet vests, as if that covers up the viciousness inside of her. Yeah. I'm sorry, this side's really getting picked on. Yeah, look at these pearls. Oh, if I wear pearls and a flowery sweater, then everybody will think I'm not a criminal. And I need one more. Just a gentleman right there. Yeah, God love you. Come on. Thank you for volunteering. Little twist of the arm here. Oh, I'll tell you what, this is great. Violent criminals right here. Look carefully. These are the ones you want to sidestep in the parking lot. Now, one at a time, I need to introduce you to who they are. One of the things that really confused me when I was trying to learn like you is people would say, well, if this happens into this, and if this, it never fit. And Mike helped me to figure out that most violent criminals fit into one of 4 file cabinets. And so if we can go into it with this understanding, then our choice list is so simple of where to go. So first of all, let me explain that a huge amount of violent people that exist in our society are just like this guy. What's your first name?
Deke.
Deke. Oh, Deke, I'm so glad you're here. I'm exposing a bit about your past, Deke. Although you look like a professional kind of guy today, I got to tell you, that's not the way it was years ago when you were poor. That's when you started shoplifting, because the man is a thief. And it's built up to bank robberies, house burglaries. Do you know one of Deke's pals can be breaking into your car right now as you're watching this presentation? Sure, Deke. And of course, the crime of the century is carjacking. Oh yeah, love those hot cars at the point of a gun. Listen to me, folks. Thieves have been around forever. They were mentioned in the Bible. Our society has never existed without people like this who want what we've got. And if you don't think you're going to get off Earth without being touched by this, you're kidding yourself. The question is, don't let it devastate your life. And yeah, we'll do what we can to prevent. And let me break the news to you. All our prevention efforts, all the little things we buy, all the locks, all the alarms, will best work with this element. But when it comes to these people, oh my God, these prevention things are just not there. So now let me be blunt with you. I'm going to teach you today how to fight back. That's why you're involved in this training. And when I say the word fight, Deke, everybody gets fired up. You can hold that chart. They think, yeah, she's going to teach me how to hit somebody. And I will, a little later on, and we will demonstrate that on you. You don't mind, do you?
No, not a bit.
Please stop living your life believing that self-defense is just walking down the street, bam, and punching people. No, it's a process. It always is a process. And the process very much is depicted by the letters on this chart. Now, when you see the letters MVP, you athletes, Deke, think of most valuable player. That's okay. That's you. That's the golden person, the most important. But please give new meanings to the process of taking control. First is you've got to have a mental foundation of your rights. Yes, there is risk here, but I've got the right to work second shift, to be at the airport at 9 o'clock at night. And because of love, I'm not zero. By George, I'm a player here. Do you understand? If you don't have some solid beliefs, you're in big trouble. That's all on the inside of you. Then, my friend, this one's shrewd. He might confront, and you might need to verbalize. And that personal power needs to come out of your mouth. And like me, you might have in the past struggled with 3 major issues: spitting, stuttering, and crying. The things I didn't speak up and say. And I got to share with you quickly, the remedy to all 3 of those is huge breaths of air. Oh, especially this crying business. Every one of us in this place. Now, Deke, I know that I look like my marriage is probably perfect. It's not true. Sometimes we have some major league blooming fights in my house, screaming and hollering. And you know what happens? Every single time, the phone rings. Come on, it's happened in your kitchen. You're in a major league battle with a spouse or a kid. The phone rings, and this is you and me. Hello? What magic did we do to pull our verbal skills together in the middle of a crisis? Deep breathing. Come on, so that you can then talk. So here's the key. You've got to have a foundation of mental control. And then you might have to verbalize it. And let me share with you, this man is watching our reaction. He's listening to our words. Only rarely will you be challenged to physically fight a thief In fact, I'm going to discourage physically fighting a thief, and I know that makes you feel good. I'll make the argument for it, and I like to fight. I'm going to tell you, it kills me to have to tell you the truth, but there's a lot of danger in fighting thieves, and I'll explain that in just a minute. Now, as you see our odds here, the gold, it's very good that we're going to make it. But you see also the green. And as we get to the bottom of the chart, his odds are increasing. Does it make sense to you that if Deke is intoxicated, loaded with drugs and alcohol, that my challenge is going to be much more difficult? Oh, you betcha. Please live your life knowing that people who commit violence, all my characters, look at them, have major intoxication problems. And if it's not drugs and alcohol, look at this one. This one's just beaming. Hatred. They hate their world, themselves, so much that they turn that hatred on you. Is hatred intoxicating? Ooh, man, and sometimes we have them on drugs, alcohol, and hatred. This one right here. Please believe me when I tell you, when somebody is high on these intoxicants, number one, they absolutely have no conscience. Don't expect their heart, the right and wrong, to be, no, they don't know right from wrong. Secondly, they have extraordinary strength. Oh, this one just threw the X across the bar and took on 7 cops. Well, she looks so frail. Well, you ought to see her when her heart's broken and she's loaded with stuff. Talk to any cop, they've experienced it. And then thirdly, and this is so important, these people feel no pain. So a lot of what you think you know on self-defense, oh, well, step on his toes and kick his shins and kick his groin. These things don't work, do they, Deke?
No.
Can I prove it?
No.
No. What, are you high on a cup of coffee? Not good enough. And the state of intoxication, they simply don't have feeling. Does that make sense to you? Yeah, we've got to accept the truth. So the bottom line is, yep, when this thief is high, he's going to be a bigger challenge, and we'll give you specifics here in just a minute. I'm going to cut you loose. I'm going to have you stand aside, lurk in the wilderness, Deke, and get ready for your big moment. Just hang on. I need to introduce your friends you met in prison last year, the last convention you were at. And what is your name?
Jody.
Jody. I'm so happy to have you here, Jody. You look so together. I mean, your shoes even match your outfit. But behind this facade is a very tormented woman. We're talking about a frustrated person. She's got personal problems with the kids. The car wouldn't start this morning. The dog pooped on the carpeting. Refrigerator went out. Job is on the line. Do you understand? Oh, we have Americans. Oh, people who are filled with so much pain. And last year, she went to church. But today, she's going to kill you. You know, domestic violence, that's a given. The frustration and pain that people have inside their homes. And now there's this thing called workplace violence. Yeah, where a person that you used to love and trust and were worth 17 years all of a sudden doesn't like the boss anymore. Boom! And as he shoots, he says things, oh, it's always documented in the paper. This is what you get for killing me. Are you happy now? I mean, real pain surfacing. This is about depression. In fact, I just was looking through the newspaper recently. Did you know that there's a National Depression Screening Day now? A week we dedicate to that? I mean, it's sad. We are a people with problems. And when you take those problems and think you can mix them with chemicals, we've got real challenges. People are saying, what's going wrong? Kids shooting and people at work. Folks, it's about pain, matters of the heart. And the odds of you and I surviving somebody who's this upset is about 50-50. I'm not kidding you. This is a dangerous woman. I know on the outside she looks fine. Hold this chart. Now what I need to do is have you step aside and have all of you pretend for a second you just graduated from the police academy and that your very first run has come out and you have a choice. Is it more dangerous for you to go to a bank robbery in progress or a domestic fight in progress with Jody? What's more dangerous? Oh, this one. This one, absolutely. So Deke, don't mess with her. She'll clean your clock. I know she looks frail, but the woman's heart is breaking. And that power is enormous because you put all that pain and chemicals with adrenaline. You got your hands full. Thanks for being here, Jody. Isn't this a picnic? Well, then, of course, there is this other style of violent criminal, the one we don't read much about in the papers, but when they hit, we need task forces to hunt them down. Psychotic behavior! And psychotic behavior is that which, oh my goodness, it's truly a time bomb exploding. And when this guy is around and he is out of control because of hatred and drugs and alcohol, can you talk to him and negotiate your freedom? No. Is he going to respond to a little can of chemical spray, sound alarms? I don't think so. You have this big guy coming after you. I think that you need to accept the odds. The odds are not good. About way down there. And I don't care if you're a policeman with a gun on your side. Huh? When you and I are faced with this, we've got to, number one, be breathing to get our insides together and come out with a physical response. And I'm not going to mince words with you on what that physical response is. I'm going to teach you one choice, not a series of 5 or 10 or 20. You don't access 5 or 10 or 20 in a crisis. I pray to God you can breathe and do one. So it's going to be, there might be blood. You don't mind if there's, that's why your shirt's red, so we don't, mess up your white. You're going to be a handful, and I want you to step aside here by my friend, Jody. Okay. But let me tell you something. Don't mess with her. She is so close to being psychotic that it would just... And see, what you don't realize about Jody is this is the picture dominating her life. That of the domino effect, where one thing has crashed into another, and you get the picture? Yeah. And where she is right now, because I was talking to her before, is she is at the point where she says, I don't care anymore! And that makes her terribly dangerous, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. And she's not sure if she's going to go to suicide or kill you. It all depends on who she feels is to blame for her pain. Oh, Jody, you look so frail, so kind, so caring. You are so dangerous. Don't mess with her. Actually, I need to introduce the most dangerous person in the room. Not that the three of you aren't a handful, but this is the one that takes our breath away. What's your name?
Betty.
Betty. Oh, Betty. Betty. Oh, Betty. Hired killer, assassin, and hit woman. Oh, and I have an apron for you where, I come onto this stage and everybody is so sweet and I see those smiling hearts. You look at them and you see targets right across their chest. Hired killer, assassin, and hit woman. That is who you are. I understand it started years ago just reading military kinds of magazines. It turned into how to kill books and bear kills. Mad as hell. Your library is full. When I was powdering my nose in the ladies' room, I saw something and I thought maybe it was yours.
My gun?
Yes! Let me take her bullets are dripping all over my floor here. Oh, I'll tell you what. Like they say, you never know when you're going to be victimized. Very good. We got a few people wiping their glasses off. How many of you were sprayed with water? Give a report card. Excellent. All right. Those of you sprayed with water, please complete this phrase. If she was real, I'd be dead. That's right. There is absolutely nothing that you and I and the law-abiding citizens can do about this phenomena in our nation. I'm sorry. I wish I had some good news, but this is the bottom line. If she wants us, she's got us. You see this little speck of gold? This is if you forget to load your gun. Those of us who live simple little lives generally are not the target of this vicious, vicious woman. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the apron off. That is mine. But the hat is yours. Now, all she needs is a blue suit, and she's got a new outfit for church. What do you think? Now, hang on. I've also got a gift for you. Here's something that you can squeeze. Maybe calm yourself down. Pray a little more. Breathe a little deeper. Round of applause might help her self-esteem. You're out of here. You're done. We have to address that because we have issues in our society. Drive-by shootings. What can we do about drive-by shootings? Nothing. Nothing except enact laws that really hammer people who choose to live like her. That's all we have is legislation later. So, ladies and gentlemen, our threat is not that. Our threat are these people right here. These psychotics. These frustrated people that are just snapping everywhere. Snapping in their house, losing control of work, and in the parking lots. And you thieves, you are everywhere. And here, you got to realize, too, people can change hats. Let's talk about gang members for a second. Can a gang member be a thief and then become frustrated and then become psychotic right on the spot? That's why they're so dangerous. It's hard to predict. So what I need for you all to do, the psychotic, it's going to be so painful, you need to rest. Can you take your seat? Keep your costume on. We'll grab you up here in just a minute. And then, of course, Jody, you need to breathe too, because it's going to be just horrible. What it takes for me to stop you. Just breathe deeply. It'll soon be over. And I'm going to interact with the thief. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to again get back to that process. You've got the strong mental foundation, but now we have to work on verbal skills. And I will share with you that you cannot be raped, robbed, mugged, or murdered until these violent criminals get into your private space. That's about 18 inches around you. And I want you to be very, very sensitive the rest of your life to this area. Because short of the assassin, they have got to move in to cause us the harm. Isn't that true? So, question is, how do they do it? And these are not space scientists with brilliant minds. We're dealing with people with very simple theories that you and I just have to pick up on. One style of attack is they turn and look at a person dressed like myself and go, what a wimp, huh? Because if you don't think you're judging me, you know he's judging me. Making statements of my frailness because of my costume. Come on. And you are the same way. So now that he's zoned in on me and my so-called isolation, now he's got to think of how am I going to get her. And on his choice list, there are 3 options. One style of attack against you or I would be where they walk up to us casually and create a phony conversation. A very simple conversation about directions or time, change, something small out of our purses or pockets or briefcases. And if not that style of attack, another style of attack would be when they follow us. Oh my God, look, she's not breathing. Isn't this a piece of cake? She's pretending I'm not here. Oh, this is great. Bam! And they got you. And the third style of attack would be that where all of a sudden they're really gutsy and explode in front of us. Maybe they were hiding. Surprise attack. So out of those 3 styles of attack, which one do you think's done most in society? Do you think that it's conversation, being followed, or surprise? Come on, what do you think? Conversation by far. Think about how our children are assaulted and abducted and attacked. What style mostly is used to get them? Conversation. And what do we know from conventional wisdom to do about conversations with strangers? What's the response? Just don't talk. So here we are, terrified, screaming at ourselves, no blood, no oxygen, and the rule is, don't talk. Do you think that's a green light for a guy like this? Yeah. Accidentally, it's my opinion that we've been taught the opposite response of what we need. So I need to encourage you to talk and to take control of that conversation. So first I'm going to go through a scenario where I pretend to act out the innocent choices that many, many Americans, many, many law-abiding citizens make. And it's not our fault. We don't know any better. So here I am. I'm leaving work late. I guess it's not fair for me to have my Uzi in my purse. I'll take that. Wouldn't want to cheat. All right, I'm minding my own business, and I'm leaving late. It's been a long day. And I'm just standing waiting for the light to change across the street, and I'm feeling this person coming close. Now, he looks okay, but do you know what I'm talking about? The heebie-jeebies where all of a sudden something's going off, adjusting your blood and oxygen? Oh, yeah. And because we don't like those feelings, oh my God, what's wrong here? And he asks an innocent question in the middle of all this internal chaos as I'm going crazy. Question about time or directions or something.
Excuse me, can you tell me where Main Street is?
Oh, thank God he only wants directions. Phew. Don't we tend to believe him? We want so desperately for this to be okay. Immediately, this man has taken control of 3 things with that question. Number 1, he knows I'm a golden person and I will concentrate on right turns and left turns because we wouldn't want to get anybody lost, would we? No, my mind has just gone from, what's wrong with him? What's wrong? There's something wrong to, where is Main Street? And remember, the blood and oxygen is not there. We're struggling. And because we're trying to cover our nervousness, the next thing we innocently do is point, because that's normal. Well, yes, and it so happens to tie up our hands, not to be able to clobber him or protect ourselves. If he happened to have asked me for something out of my purse or your briefcases, you guys reaching into your pockets, your trousers and jeans, yep, the minute you put your hand down into your pocket for change, your right hook might be deadly, but if it's in your pocket, you're in big trouble. And this has been done to you by design. So they've messed with our mind, they've messed with our hands and arms, and the fatal mistake we tend to make out of nervousness is we do this. Well, you turn left, what have I just done? When I lose eye contact with somebody that I don't feel good about, that's notoriously where the seasoned violent veterans take a gun or a knife out of nowhere, ram it right into our skin, grab the stuff they want, and run. Listen to your cues. Charlie! Now, come on. What do you and I do? 3-4 minutes. And finally, of course, somebody comes and saves us. Oh, what happened? Call the police. And you're shattered, emotionally shattered. And then the police arrive, and they really want to help you, and they need to fill out a piece of paper. So they ask you first simple questions like, what's your name? You tell them, address, phone number, and then the tough ones. Well, what did he look like? Well, was he tall or short? Ooh. Well, was he white or black or Mexican or Asian or alien or what? Oh. Well, did he have glasses on, a mustache? Simple questions, but guess what? We have no idea. And then we think to ourselves, oh, I'm so stupid. And then because he or she can't fill out that paperwork because they truly want to help you and get a description out. But you've given them no information. Sometimes they turn a little orange, and guess what they might say? They don't really mean to hurt you, but, well, what are you doing here by yourself? Oh! And then because of that phrase, sometimes victims fall apart. And then to soothe you, the next professional statement is, can I call somebody for you? Oh, great, yeah, the people I report to, yeah. And as soon as you call your spouse or your father or your parent, come on, your loved ones, they say, I told you shouldn't work downtown. I told you this was going to happen. How many times? And here we are, devastated, because this man needs $25 for crack cocaine. Now my life is ruined. I feel rotten about myself. I'm in therapy forever. Think about it. I go out and get an alarm from my house because I'm terrified he's going to break into my house. He's got my address. Bars on my windows. I got a chemical spray in both hands. I mean to tell you. I've got little ones in my life that's asked things like, gee, can I go to the dance? No. Can I go to college? No. And my sincere belief is that the world is going to hell. And as long as I believe it's going to hell, it is. All because of this man doing what he does several times a day. Come on, folks. How many people are touched by this over and over and over and over every single day of the year? Yes, and we got to cut it out because this is going to happen. We're going to be tested. The question is, can we minimize it? And when we can't minimize it, how can we process it with strength, not pain? So this time, as graduates of the Yes You Can program, we're going to make your life miserable. You might have to consider a real job, one where your income requires you to pay taxes. Does that bug you? Violent people, all this cash they have in their hands, and a third of it, half of it doesn't get paid to taxes. Oh, don't even get me started on that one. So this time I'm leaving. I have the right to leave. It is late. It's higher risk, and I feel uncomfortable with you coming close. And we're going to start this all over again.
Excuse me, do you have a quarter for a phone call?
Oh, sorry, I don't. I can't help you. Sorry.
I just need a little help.
I really, they might help you back in that direction over that way.
Well,
He is good at this! I tell you. I see people in the audience, and I think to myself, yeah, they look like they would interact with me, and they know exactly how to perform like a thief. I did 3 powerful things that he ignored, and I want you to pay attention. I'm testing him, and he's flunking dramatically. Number 1, when you are minding your own business and somebody comes out of nowhere and asks you a question, excuse me, that is a conversation. I want you to lock in eye contact. Imagine you staring them down to where they look away from you. Oh, I don't think I could do that, Debbie. Oh, sure you could. You do it to family members all the time. You tell me you can't do this. Yes, you can. And then, of course, as soon as I lock in my eyes, I don't care what he's asking or commenting on. Your and my response is, I don't know or I don't have. Cut it off. Stop the conversation. Because the minute I say that, if he was a decent, golden person and I can't help him, what would a decent person do? You leave. You see, it's a tremendous test. However, in addition to saying no, I really wanted to supplement the test by scooting back my space. Just shifting your hip. Move that 18 inches. Just move a little bit. And really watch what happens. And let me tell you something. You're good. Instead of reacting to my no, he came at me with a second question, not even on the same subject, which is exactly what they do. This concerns me, Deke. And then, as I stepped back, what did he do? He stepped forward, kept crowding my space. He was into the 3rd verbal attack, and I was into my 3rd stepping back. Excuse me, am I being attacked? You better believe it. I'm being attacked mentally and verbally. And as soon as he wears down my self-esteem and I look away, bam, that's when I'm going to get it. So you and I, front line, have got to understand the importance of acting. That's breathing deeply, putting your family in your mind, and getting a grip on even just the handle of your bag, the handle of your briefcase, or just the air as you play this game. And as you see that this is not about a conversation, this is about intimidating you. Be prepared for your performance to be good enough that they back away, or, come on, a reasonable scenario is this doesn't stop. He's sick. I'm in a parking lot, and as we've stepped back, now I'm up against a car or a pole, a wall. Is that possible? He's got me trapped? Oh, you better believe it is. So as this is happening all of a sudden now, because he's getting a little upset, is that possible? Sure. Can he all of a sudden start calling me filthy names? You don't have to do that. Yeah, you're welcome. And reaching for my stuff, is it possible? I'm up against the wall and you're reaching for my stuff, Dick. Should I struggle? No. I'll tell you why. And it kills me because I am a fighter. When we throw into this myth resistance, we are very much taking a chance of him going even further out of frustrated state into what? Psychotic, right on the spot. And it simply isn't worth it for the stuff that you and I carry around. Please fight mentally and verbally, protecting your space. But when you're cornered and you're crowded, if it's about your stuff, let it be. Breathe deeply so you can get a snapshot photograph as he runs from here. And, yeah, you call the police, but guess how you handle yourself? The police officer comes. Thanks a lot for stopping. I was leaving work late. I had the right to work till 8 o'clock at night. And yes, where I normally like to walk with people, she went to her car and I'm now going to mine. I have the right to be here. Don't be ashamed to bring up your rights right off top. First of all, it will be respected because law enforcement wants the public to be strong. Trust me. Speak up. And then say, this guy came out and I tried to stop him. I stepped back. I said, no, but I'll tell you, he was smooth. He was good at this. And as he ignored my verbal commands, he crossed in, he called me filthy names. And officer, it wasn't worth struggling for my stuff. And here is exactly what he looked like. He's tall, he's slender, he's got lighter colored hair. He had a hat on that said thief. I guess that should have been a warning. No. You go through that description to the best of your ability. Be proud for even just one fact, if that's all you have. And then, as the officer says, is there someone I can call for you to help you? You say, sure, I'd like to talk to my spouse, whoever it is you might have to report to. And this is how you handle them. Honey, it's been a long day and a bad day. I need your help. Please come pick me up, or whatever it is you need. And then as you give the details about how you tried to do what was necessary, but you had to give up your purse, your briefcase, your stuff, you say, you know, because I handled myself so well, I know I prevented my own abduction, rape, and murder. This is a great day. Would you please take me out to dinner and buy me something? Because I graduated in the real world and minimized the head-on collision. Yes, please clap. Woo. Thank you. Are you traumatized? Yes. But is this going to destroy you the rest of your life? No. Because this is going to happen to each of us and to the people in our families, folks. We cannot allow it to continue to attack after the fact. Now, I want to be very fair with you. There are times that we give up our stuff and this person's happy and takes off. That's called a good day. A bad day is when we find ourselves in dangerous settings where these people are so skilled at what they do. They reach into your purse, your wallets, your briefcases, okay? And they stand there. And if you don't have the amount of money that they expect from what they see on the outside, be prepared for rage! As now they want who? Yes. Do you see how the hat just at that moment changed from being a thief to at least frustrated, possibly psychotic, right on the spot? Are you and I in big trouble? Mm-hmm. When people attack, they are only interested in one of three things from us. Stuff we own, or the abuse of our body, beating the hell out of us. Of course, the worst case scenario there is rape, sexual assault of some sort. And if that is not enough, what is left for a person to escalate and take? Come on, you know the answer. Your life, absolutely. They want your stuff, your body, or your life. That is why I say the day you're cornered and it's just about your stuff, throw it at them. Hopefully it ends. It's when they throw it down and they say, no, I want you too. Oh, now we got big problems. And Deke, I am ready to start slugging somebody. I really am. But I promise that I would not hit you. So, daggone it. Do you see him gripping his hands behind his back? It is a real phenomena, folks. Pay attention to it. Breathing deeply and gripping. So, Deke, I'm going to take this apron off. You know, if I had super glue, I would glue this hat to your head to give these people a chance as you roam around this facility. But I got to tell you, you're one of the finest, most skilled thieves I've ever met in my professional career. And look at this, polite. I'm going to give you something as a little reward. Thanks for being such a good sport. You're a sweetheart. Thanks a lot. I'm going to let you sit down. Let me give you a summary. When somebody's coming out of nowhere, you got to breathe deeply, get a grip on yourself, think about your loved ones, and don't be shocked if a question comes up. I'm begging you not to believe the question. Look them straight in the eyes and say, I don't know or I don't have, as you scoot your space. In other words, the summary here, are you ready, golden people? You are allowed to lie. Has anybody flat out told you you're allowed to lie? I know exactly where Main Street is. I live on Main Street, but I didn't like the looks of that guy. Okay? I know what time it is, but if I don't like the looks about you or the feeling, I'm not going to tell you. You're allowed to lie. Awesome street knowledge. So that's the bottom line. Keep people out of your space by lying to them. But let me share with you another way eye contact and your space is protected by another style of attack, and that's this following business. And Jody, if you don't mind coming up, have you ever had this scenario where you, my God, I'm being followed? No, I'm not. Yes, I am. No, this is a coincidence. No, it isn't. Oh my gosh, I shouldn't be here. Who's been through this emotional hell, huh? You've got two voices screaming. One is very brave and one is very terrified. And in this space, to make a decision for control and power, we tend to fight with ourselves with little to no oxygen and blood, and then we wonder when we're trapped why we fall apart. I'm asking you to back this scenario up a little bit. Give yourself some space. You are not zero. If you feel that you are being followed on foot, it is time to give a test. Breathe deeply. Think of your loved ones. Come on, get a grip on yourself. You can handle this. And remember that only you know where you're going. I know that's a profound thought. Okay? So, instead of going directly there, be obnoxious. Make a path that is ridiculous. It's a test. If we're dealing with parking lot scenarios, I know that conventional wisdom says, hey, if you're scared, run. If you're scared, go where there are people and lights. And I agree. But how many of you regularly go places where there are no people? There are no lights. There is no help. Excuse me. It's you and the violent personality. What are you going to do? So what I'm asking you to do is be bizarre. Instead of going right for your car, zigzag around a car or two that isn't yours. So that as you're having a ridiculous path and looking over your shoulder and they follow, that's a real commitment to following you. Because if it was coincidence, they would just stay away, literally looking at you going, what a crazy person. Yeah, the faster you can make a bizarre path, the better. And of course, you've got to monitor them constantly. I'm curious how many of you are willing to admit you jog or walk for your health. Raise your hands proudly. Please understand you have the right to do that. Is there risk? Of course. Of course. But we can minimize that risk by giving you the bottom line. As you're jogging on sidewalks and streets in the middle, again, the best choice, if you feel the presence of somebody, just jog down the other side, cross through the street, get to the other side of the sidewalk. And if that person cuts through traffic behind you, it's a commitment. There's something going on here. No coincidence. I will take it as far as for you to say, even if there's heavy traffic and you're really overwhelmed, I would personally rather put my body alongside moving cars. I'm serious. With the choice to smack my hips into a moving car, to create an auto accident scenario, than allow somebody who I feel is very vicious, when my body is warning me it's deep trouble. I don't want them that close. Do you understand the power of being bizarre when you have a little bit of space between you? Please, it's a test. On a good day, they go off on their own and close call. However, on a bad day, when they really are sick, loaded with problems, I won't even list them again, Jody. It depresses me too much. She doesn't care. She is so sick. And obviously, I am so together. She hates me. She hates what I represent. Control, intelligence, all that good stuff. Think how frustrated people think, folks. It's true. Got a lot of problems. And so here I am, minding my own business, and I'm going to pretend. I need you to back up just a little bit. I'm going to pretend that I already zigzagged through the parking lot, went around a car or two, but she is right behind me. And I need to understand that prevention is quickly leaving. So as she's coming carefully, and I'm looking over my shoulder, what the fuck do you want from me? Oh, Lord. Are they Are they still there, Jody? I'm not going to open my eyes for just a minute. Is that golden language or is that red language? Now, listen, I know that there is at least a small percent of you, and that's why I'm not looking, that instead of smiling at me and laughing, you're sitting like this. I don't like her anymore. And you know who you are. And you are the ones, my friend, who have heard the lesson the loudest. Because if that one word, one time, has destroyed your impression of me, then understand in a parking garage how I can also destroy this impression to a person like this. You see, that language says, I was raised in a hellhole. I'm not a beginner. Don't you mess with me. And that's precisely the imagery you want seconds before a physical battle. Do you hear what I'm saying? So let me share with you some rules about vulgarity, rules I didn't know. And I might be boring a few of you who are already familiar with this, so sorry. First of all, please curse with distance. We want to stun her into an extraordinary response. What the F do you want? Distance, where she can move in any direction she wants, saying, what's wrong with you? And change her mind about attacking me. Because isn't it true she's going to make a choice? If I turn and fire this performance, if it's a good day, she's going to walk away. I've overwhelmed her with personal power, the point of the finger, the ferociousnh of my eyes. But on a bad day, if she's really wasted, really desperate, when I put on this show, is she going to stop? Come on, be honest with me. No, and I've got about 3 steps to get ready for the big physical fight because there is no prevention. Along with that, you've got to be looking at them when you curse. If you curse looking at the ground, it doesn't work. And these eyes have got to pierce. I mean, do you talk about a performance? This is true acting. So I'll tell you something. I'm so thankful you didn't curse back at me, Jody, because you could have. She has it in her. It was a good day. So what I'm going to share with you is this apron is mine, but that hat is yours. Now, people in this audience will try to buy that from you. Don't you sell it. And I'm going to give you a very special gift that everyone in this room is going to be envious of. I'll tell you something. Frustrated people need all the police friends they can possibly find. So she needs a sign that she should just wear across her body, pulling them towards her. No, actually, this is a sign that would be of great value if your car broke down. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to quickly put this information into the real world called Your Car Breaks Down, because you do have the right and the freedom and the privilege of driving even at nighttime. I'm begging you to exercise that freedom. The very greatest thing in terms of a toy to keep you safe that you could put your money in is a cellular phone. And I want to beg you to understand the prices are falling dramatically. In fact, phones are all but given away so that you subscribe to service. You can afford service if you know to shop around and ask for the safety package, which is generally somewhere around $17, $20. Those prices will probably continue to fall per month. Do you understand? And 911 is always free. And I got to share with you, especially a handheld phone is a superb asset in a crisis, especially those very troubling times when you and I might be dealing with a stalking situation. Now, it requires the discipline of having it in your hand. But come on, if you're living with ferocious threat every day because of something in your personal life, this is a choice that's very reasonable to make. And I'll share with you, as you go into a parking lot, realize that in a stalking situation, your biggest problem is there's no evidence. It's your word against their word. So the beauty is as you have 911 programmed, all you have to do when you all of a sudden, they come out of nowhere, is press the send button, one button, okay? You can breathe and do this, and then start talking. I'm telling you, there's a restraining order against you. Stay away. And every word you say is recorded. Guess who now has evidence? Awesome. Worst case scenario, they charge you. At that time, this becomes an awesome weapon. And I'll show you where on this violent psychotic in just a minute. Because you've got a good grip. Do you understand? An awesome grip. And is this ever a weapon? The good news, I believe, is that this behavior is so intimidating, possibly they will back away. And we have again prevented something that could have gone sour. So this is an awesome choice. And should that not be yet in your budget, and I hope that down the road it will be, I think that the price falling will allow it to be a consumer product for all of us. The second best choice would be a send police sign, especially in your car. And you got to realize that these need to be large and well made and reflect headlights at nighttime. The magic to making these work is suction cups to hang inside your car. That way it hangs straight down and it's not affected by semi-trucks blowing it all over the place on the interstate. See, gardeners think through everything, don't we? I'll tell you, we try. We don't have all the answers, but we sure try to think through. So the bottom line here is I think that all of Jody's friends, when they see this police sign, will drive right by you. It's a little bit intimidating because they don't know when the cops might just now pull up, correct? The second best value in having something like this is when you have it hanging. People who do have a lot of money and cellular phones will all call in the police for you. You will get help rapidly because all of a sudden, especially on heavily traffic highway systems, there's going to be so many calls in to 911. Would you get that man out there on the interstate? This is the 37th phone call. See what I mean? Yes, very, very wonderful. Now, whether or not you have a cellular phone or a car sign, I need to give you some personal power with your verbal commands. And Jody, just hold on to this for just a second. Pretending for a second that I broke down in the middle of the night, and Mike and I travel quite a bit, drive through the middle of the night to come home to our children, to be there at breakfast. It's just how we live our life. And there's significant isolation on highway systems. No gas stations, who agrees? But I got the right to be there, friends. So do you. So here you are. Hey, when you can walk to a gas station, fine. If you can get your own help, that's great. It's when we are stuck needing people to stop that we really are vulnerable. So at this point, come on, you're not zero. Yes, your car's broken down. That's it. Breathe deeply. You know how it feels when headlights pull up? You feel great and terrible. Oh, yes. Breathe deeply and put on a show. As they walk up to you, which is your choice, roll your window down just enough to be heard. And then, you know, you're breathing deeply and gripping that steering wheel. Come on, for the insides to be together. I want you to put on a performance. Hey, thanks a lot for stopping. You're the second person to stop. Yeah, a guy left here about 15 minutes ago and has already called the police. That's a lie. You're allowed to lie. Has anybody flat out told you, golden people, you're allowed to lie? Lying is one of the most significant street patterns that exist for your safety. So I lie and I say the police have already been notified. Now I will continue. Would you mind leaving and calling the police again? Leave and call the police. If this was truly a golden person, what would they do? Oh yes, it's a test. Decent person, and I'll also be stunned by how brilliant you are. And what you need to be concerned with is the one who just dismisses your demands and says, oh, what do you think the problem is? Hey, it's serious. Please leave and call the police. Yeah, but I got a buddy who has a garage. I appreciate that, but I want the police. Please leave and call them for me. By about the second or third time where they challenge your words, would you roll up that window and lay on your horn? You don't accept help from people who don't listen to your demands. Do you think that has value to you? Please share that with people you love, the young ones, especially who are driving. We have the right, and the risk, my friends, is part of living. Now, what I'm going to do for you, Jody, because you're so special, I'm going to turn you into Miss Send Police. I'll tell you, now your family is going to be so fired up about that. I know. Just strut on up the stage. Great. What a sweetheart. Oh, boy. Some people have everything, Jody. So far, we've had a great time learning how to prevent crime. And in summary, let me share with you what we've learned. Number one, you've learned the importance of breathing deeply. That's how you get started. And along with that, you pump your fist because you've got to have blood in the right places. You've got to get a grip going. Then you've got to focus on loved ones. You've got to believe you can do it for them. In addition, the outer defense is about protecting your space. I'm dead serious. From here back is yours. And you defend your space by lying to people or cursing at them. What a wild seminar. That is the bottom line. Putting on a show. You see, you're an actor. I know who you are. I know how you behave, how you want to behave, but you've got to do something opposite you as a test. And if they're smart, they'll back away from us because we are living as golden people and we are going to take risks and we are going to go home a whole person, period. So I've got to be fair with you, however, and say that sometimes the best performance in town simply isn't enough. The best eyes, the best strength, the best words. We got really sick people out there. Look at that psychotic. You can tell. And I need to be fair with you on how to survive something you can't stop. The worst style of attack that could be used against us is a surprise attack. And that is that very unfair style where, boom, they're in your face. They're hiding in the closet in the morning when you start the coffee pot in the office. Come on, you've thought about that. Maybe you leave late and wonder who's turning the door right in front of you. Maybe as you climb into your car, you're wondering about who's hiding in the back. Come on, we've all had nightmares. Sleeping in a hotel, boom, somebody right on top of you. And I guarantee should any of those scenarios occur, you and I will be dealing with holding our breath. Big time. And come on, they're already through your space, touching your skin, so the physical battle is immediate, correct? There is no prevention. Get off that guilt trips saying, I should have done something to stop. No, it's too late. So I'm going to share with you now, people say, well, Debbie, how come you haven't talked about screaming yet? I'll tell you why. Because most people in a crisis cannot scream. When I say that word, we're talking about air supply in your throat and chest and the noise that goes with it. Ah! That is a scream. And when you and I are terrified, I'm telling you, there's no scream in us. Because everything we own is sucked in our belly. Oh. So if there's going to be a sound, guess where it comes from? Your gut. And if there's one thing that men have the edge over women in this subject, it is not their muscles, it is not their height, it is their knowledge on how to use their body in a crisis. Because from the time they're little and play football, guys learn that it's important to make a sound from their stomach for added strength. Ah! Ah! They don't hit each other doing this. Ah! Ah! Okay? Weightlifting. I'm convinced if they were not allowed to make that noise, the weights would not go over their head. Wrestling. Just think of the long list of contact sports and the lessons learned you never discussed. So that's the edge they have. The bottom line here, folks, is we need to get tuned in to that element of natural strength. It will never come with a sound from your throat, only from the response from your belly. Therefore, I'm going to encourage you, when you're ever caught off guard, you've got to respond with a roar. Ah! And I want to warn you right now that that sound usually doesn't have the volume of a scream. You don't need volume. You need to have a response that gets your air moving, that saves your life and makes you a fighter. If you think a little sound's going to bring in help to save you, I'm sorry, I think you're kidding yourself. I shot a gun off in this facility, and have you noticed that no one has come in yet to check on us? May I announce that Mike and I have been doing this by surprise in public buildings, hotels, corporations for 13 years, and no one, underline that, no one has ever checked on us. I think it's wonderful if there's noise, if you can be saved. We call that a good day, but for most of us to live with that illusion is a total joke. You take care of you. You, remember, right here. And you've got to do that by pulling up that air. Ah! And getting that sound out, what we call a roar. I am amazed how many victims of crime say that their assailant sounded like an animal through the attack. Of course! They're calling up all that rage from their belly as well. I think of this story when I say the word animal, and we all can relate to it in one way or another. Were you ever around a tiny dog? You know, one of these miniature chihuahua things? To observe their behavior when a big 6-foot psychotic comes in the room at the wrong time of day. Come on, they're at the front door. This little animal really believes he or she can do something about psychotic 6-foot humans. So immediately when the dog feels the danger, that change inside their system, the dog looks right at the problem, correct? Because dogs know they can't fight what they don't see. And confrontation with your eyes is the number one issue. Can you look? Next, when the dog is truly terrified, he changes his appearance immediately. He raises his ears as if a 1/4 of an inch height makes him more vicious. And along with that, you know, dogs don't have cans of mace. They just have teeth. The only weapon they have, they make it larger by lifting their lips, shining this strength. With this changed outer side of them, they start moving towards the problem. Now, as this dog is walking towards this 6-foot intruder, is he filling his head with negativity and guilt? Oh gosh, I shouldn't live here. I shouldn't live alone. I shouldn't walk alone. Pull yourself together. No, only humans fill their heads with negativity in the middle of a crisis. This animal has the complete feeling of ownership in this house where you live. Do you understand? Natural protection juices. It doesn't like what it feels, so it puts on a show. And the next thing past his ears and his teeth is his what? Mouth. What he says. Now think about an animal's response in a crisis. Do they bark? No. When that animal's terrified, the sound out of his gut is what? Ah, growl, ah, roar. And he is saying with his body and his eyes and his mouth, if you come any closer, into my space, I'm going to bite you. And if the intruder is too drunk, too high, too filled with hate to pay attention to this little animal's fair warnings, that animal does in fact strike, doesn't it? And it does the minimum until the violence ends. The intruder stops. And then this is what's amazing. The little dog goes right back to the couch and watches more TV, as if nothing happened today. Just another day on the couch. Do we have to take that puppy dog to puppy therapy to help them emotionally after this crisis? No, because they aren't loaded with guilt that they somehow deserved this attack. There's a real lesson to be learned there. The puppy called upon his animal side, to save his life. And as soon as the crisis is over, he went back home. Same with you and me. Excellent story to share with little ones in your life on how we can be filled with love and also rage just by moving the needle. So now I'm going to call upon the animal in you and me to save our lives. I'm going to teach you how to fight right. And this is where it gets bloody and vicious and ugly. And the issue of physical fighting for many people is very complicated because we live with a lot of fear of our court system. That idea that once you get there, the game's played, it's not fair, et cetera, et cetera. And folks, I want you to take all that hesitation and set it aside because I don't want to be blunt with you. Once prevention is out the window and your games aren't good enough, your destiny is going to be one of two places. One is a casket and the other is a courtroom. And I pray to goodness between the two that your choice is the courtroom. You see, every cop in the United States of America knows a phrase that I think should be in every handout given to the law-abiding citizens because it says it all. You do all in your power to prevent violence, but when it can't be stopped, you've got to choose to be tried by 12 instead of carried by 6. That line is so powerful that in our first book, the publisher refused to print it. But today, 10 years later, with 10 years' growth of violence, that is a phrase everybody grabs and says, you're right. And does that mean it's going to be a picnic in court? No. But I want you to live to have the privilege to show up in court, to give your side of it. And so therefore, I'm going to help you minimize something that you may not be able to stop. When somebody attacks us, it's about attacking things we own, the abuse of our body, or taking of our life. If it's about our stuff and it doesn't get better, I already said, give it to them, throw it at them. But it's when they don't want stuff and they want us that we need to make some significant choices. From this part of the program on, I want to be very blunt with you and tell you that all the choices need to be filed into a trash can. They all stink and they all smell. They're all disgusting because of your commitment and love of yourself, the time you invest in this training. We're going to fill that trash can with options that make sense. My prayer is that you and I don't have to dig real deep. Let's get this over with and go home. But I want to share with you that there is a bottom of that trash can where it's really disgusting. And let's visualize that as the choice to comply to sexual assault. Because in my heart, that's where that choice lays. And I would just share with you that the choice to hit the bottom of the trash can is so painful, not because the attack itself is so vicious, and it is, but because after the attack, people who love you will keep you sunk in the pain. You shouldn't have been there. I told you shouldn't work there. Why do you travel? You shouldn't go in there alone. Why didn't you kick? And that's the hell that means you're going to stay in pain for years. So anything we can do not to get to that level, oh my God, let's go for it. But I will tell you frankly right now, I, so-called expert, would sacrifice my body to save my life, anything to go home to my children and my husband. If I really felt like that was the bottom line and I could comply and live, I would have to consider that as an option. And I praise all of you who have already made that choice. I've bumped into too many of you who said, Debbie, I am alive because I complied. And you know what? I believe you. But sadly, society doesn't applaud you and celebrate you and give you a parade that you deserve. You're just like a soldier over in a war. Boy, when they lose their arm to enemy fire, they come back and we try to do the best we can to celebrate their courage. We try to give them medals. And I'm not saying they don't deserve it. Of course they deserve it. But so do victims of crime who have sacrificed their body to live. Please think of it that way. Be fascinated by victims of crime because they have a lesson for all of us. Pray to God you and I don't have to sink that deep to sexual assault. Main reason is there's two serious complications. First complication is just because you sacrifice your body, it doesn't mean it ends. Aren't a lot of people raped and killed? Oh, yes. And the second complication is AIDS. And quite frankly, I have no wisdom. I can only say to you that if you feel that AIDS is a possibility, something about the encounter tells you that threat is real, then you probably need to be a fighter right from the start, because AIDS is death later. So we're talking about a personal choice. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the fact that if they want our stuff, we're either going to outsmart them or throw it at them. End it. If it's about our body, physical, sexual assault, then we have to make a choice. To comply is honorable. And at this point, let me share with you something. When you and I have to sacrifice our body, please remember that we still can be in emotional control. That's the time we want to plant evidence. Rip hair out of your head. It's yours. Leave it all over the place. Leave it on your assailant. Put it in pockets. Put it in the environment. You got fingernails. Peel those suckers off. Leave them everywhere. I'm glad you're laughing, because this is really important. You got an outfit with little buttons. Pull them off. Jewelry. Yank it off. Plant evidence. The biggest challenge in our court systems is it's my word against your word. No, sir. It's going to be evidence against your word. A bucket of evidence. I'm loaded with evidence. And then, of course, you can grip the hair of your assailant, not just from the head, but from their arms. There's hair there. Get that skin under your fingers. Is there buttons or fiber you can take? What about we're rolling on the ground? Can I just get fiber off the carpet or grass or rocks? I'm going to put my mouth in my pockets. You see, because when I can't control what's going on with my body, by God, I can be planting the future. And I sincerely believe that victims, and I've met them, who are this brilliant, the need to hang on is so incredible, they do hang on. And then when that cop shows up, they say, get out your pen. Before they put me in surgery, I got a lot of things to tell you. See, it's called control. Emotional control, even when the body control's gone. I again think the good news is that sometimes we can dig deep and hang on. So dealing with all of that and all the rage we feel, I know all of you are ready to take out your pain on this violent psychotic. Come on up here. God love you. Life will never be the same for you. Oh, I'll tell you what. You know, sometimes I get upset and I hit harder than I mean to. So for your protection, would you mind wearing this mask? You don't mind, do you? No. So won't his family be proud? Now, we'll put the hat back on if it's possible. I mean, what a picture we have here. I'm going to share with you 7 powerful concepts that you can use to save your life physically. And you're going to say, oh, Debbie, 7 is too many. Folks, I'm not training you with new information. These are lamps inside of you. I'm just turning the lights on. Hang on. Number 1, you have the right to fight for your body and your life. Correct. And I apologize that you don't hear that said passionately every week. Because I think if you did, you would feel better about yourself, don't you? In addition to that, I want to warn you, there will never be an authority figure that jumps up out of nowhere and says, okay, you're allowed to fight now. See, that's about permission. And permission to take action comes from one place only, right in here, your heart. Your passionate belief that you're worth fighting for, that you're not out of control. You're not zero. Come on, for love, you can do something. So that's number 1. You've got the right. Number 2, you've got to breathe. I'm so convinced we're all going to forget. I had to make it a rule. Because until you breathe, that body is locked up. And from now on, when I say breathe, I want you to visualize breathing, gripping, and thinking of loved ones all together, okay? The inside of you is now in control. So fight for your life, breathe. The next is you've got to roar. You've got to get that sound up and out of your bellies so that the oxygen is moving, so that your muscles are tight, because as we slam around with each other here, I'm going to take some hits, and I can't afford to be winded. So being tight means I can live through an awful lot of physical pain. Fight for your life, breathe, and roar. Now, as these get higher, you're not going to like them, Jack. Okay? Fair warning. Number 4. Ladies and gentlemen, you have the right to hit first. New information, isn't it? Isn't it sad that no one said that to you before, because it's the truth? How has law-abiding citizens gotten caught up with this phrase called fight back? See, that implies that we have to wait to be hit before we fight back. And let me ask you a simple question. If this man touches me first while I'm lecturing to you, who wins? He does. Well, wait a minute, I'm the expert. Tough, Debbie, you're the dead expert, because you're in denial of the truth. The one who touches first has got the tremendous edge of winning. Yes. So the violation is not when this man slugs me, it's when he crosses through my space, just like the puppy dog. As I'm telling you, I don't know, and he keeps coming. I have to make a choice. of touching him first when there are no escape options. Are you with me? So we're fighting for our life, breathing, roaring, hitting first. Now, by the way, that guarantees us at least one hit. Personally, I'm frustrated by trainers who make the option available that you have 10 and 15 hits. Well, I wish that was true. Folks, this is a tough, emotional subject. I pray that you are breathing. I hope you can hit once, maybe twice. But if you think you can come off with a string of choices, I think you're kidding yourself. So we're fighting for life, breathing, roaring, hitting first. Next, we're going to hit with the intention to cause injury, not just pain. Why? Because pain alone will not stop a man in this mental state. Come on. I'm sorry, stepping on his toes and kicking his shins, kicking his groin. These things just don't work against people who are numb. You've got to be willing to cause serious injury. Accept that today. So now, where do we hit? Please remember that the winner's the one who is breathing when it is over, and that's a hint. If you are truly trapped, caught by surprise, somebody comes through you, you've got to choose to go right for the throat. You want to crush the air supply before they have the time to crush yours. Do you understand? And I could see the excitement on their faces. Take your mask off so you can see the excitement. I know it's hot under there. You're a special man. They're saying to themselves, I cannot wait to get out of here and practice this on people I work with. No, Jack, no. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot practice what works. I'm sorry. Let me ask you a question. Do you have to practice defensive driving against a head-on collision drunk driver semi-truck to be convinced you can do it when you're challenged? No! You have this blind belief called, I know I'll handle it. And you've got to live your same life with that belief with this subject. If you feel this need because you're so conditioned to believe you can't, but I want to know, how much strength, Debbie? What exact hand technique? Look, this is the weapon, that's the target, get there! If you want to show one way better than another, your hand flat, like a plate, flat, is better to get in there than a fist. Do you understand? This is going to be tougher. So although I'm gripping to get my blood going, when I actually want to hit, I would have hit with this open. And while my hand's in there, you can turn, crunch, rip. Ooh, you'll do whatever it takes to stop the air supply. And I know you're saying, but how hard do you have to? What I'm going to challenge you to do is get excited, Jack. Every time one of these occur in the kitchen. I don't know about at your household, but at my household, nobody seems to know what to do about this but me. But now instead of being orange, I get just red about it. And whenever the kids are around, we try to draw them in because an empty paper towel holder is very similar to the texture of a throat. Go ahead, feel your throats for a second. It's amazing. Yeah. So if you want to know what it takes to collapse this, you go ahead. Every time you see one, pitch it to the trash can. You think I'm kidding? No. Homework assignment for you. From now on, when the water is hot and you take a shower, which also burns you, in the mornings, and you're holding your breath, you got to expel that roar. That's homework assignment number 1. Homework assignment number 2. Every time you see one of these for the rest of your life, you and people in your household make a major joke out of and throwing it away. Our little daughter has been doing this, Jack, since she was 7. She's now 14. What are the odds of her forgetting this in a crisis? Slim to none. Has this gotten into her heart through trauma or through laughter? Laughter. And the bottom line, folks, is every time her dad or I say, hey, Jackie, it's your turn, we're giving her permission to remind herself what she is allowed to do. Is that exciting? Whoa! Now, Jack, I'll tell you, you are one of the bravest psychotics I've ever met.
Thank you.
And people like you deserve special gifts. First of all, the apron, of course, is mine. Oh. But that hat is yours. Oh, and I really think that when you're having a bad day at work, if you would just wear that hat, people would give him the respect he deserves. And in addition to that, Jack, where did that hat go? Did we drop it? Did it fall in the trash can? In addition to that, I have some animal cookies for him to munch on, get his sugar level back, and something to grip. Bravest man in the room. Thanks a million.
Thank you.
God love him. He's special. I appreciate that help. So we've learned to fight for your life. Oh, number 7. Oh, darn. We need to do all in our power not to be caught from behind. What does he have that I need desperately? Not my arms. Air. That's what happens from behind is they get our air. Set me down, dear. This is my husband, Mike. First thing you're going to notice about him is he has gray hair and I don't. Okay, with that said, Mike, how else would they get us from behind? Come on, think about it. Remind our... What does he have? And what's very sad are people who promote the idea that you've got 16 choices here. You could bounce your head back and peel their thumb and turn your neck into the wind. Oh, come on. When your air is gone, the fight is over. If I need to leave no other honest impression with you, I hope it is that. So, please let me go, dear. How do we minimize this? Well, 100% we can't prevent anything. But we can change our behavior and our belief about things by realizing the power of ownership. When you leave this program today, you get on those sidewalks and parking lots that you as a tax-paying citizen own. And that means you walk tall. And you know the old phrase, carry a big stick. Yeah, emotionally you do, because for love you can do anything. And then when things don't seem quite right, the most powerful thing you and I need to learn to do is confront. And again, it's not a matter of just begin to deal with it, because when you at least turn a little bit, maybe you can become a better fighter. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, he's got me again. Okay? But it's different this time. How does he have me? I'm somewhat sideways. Now, he's got my body, but not my air. It's all because I turned a tiny bit out of curiosity of looking around. Now, because of that, I'd love to ram his throat, but I can't reach it. So I have to be tasteless and tacky and grab and bite and govern, but I'm not going to see my kids until I crush a windpipe. Okay? Now, I know that our audiences are smart, and as I'm struggling, you're saying to yourself, but what if he grabs your throat? Well, then the winner's the one who grabs it first. I'm just trying to be very fair with you. Increase your odds of surviving. So let's do this again. I'm minding my own business. It doesn't seem quite right. He told this muscle. I can't swim. It doesn't touch my throat. It's not comfortable. This is not a picnic. But because I'm fine, I got struggle, and I'm focused. A lot of people struggle and they put those hands and legs everywhere, but where it needs to be. Whew. Did he mess up my hair? I'm trying to teach you a very simple fighting strategy that little kids know in tough neighborhoods. It's how they survive drug dealers all over the place. Are you ready? First and foremost, self-defense is a self-esteem issue. Do you believe in you? Are you worth fighting for? Have you got natural strength and courage? Huh? Because as something is going down, you've got to have the guts to turn and face it! Face it and then touch it before it touches you. And I'm sorry, that is a self-esteem issue before it becomes a physical self-defense issue. And that's what most Americans don't have, is the true confidence of knowing I am right, I have the right to take the step as you come through my space when prevention is gone. It's called backbone. I'm begging you to grab it. Second, the second best way is to at least begin to deal with trouble around you, because maybe then you're just caught, your body, not your air. And the most pitiful way for you and I to live our lives is in the state of prayer, guilt, and denial, giving responsibility for our safety to someone else. Oh my God, I shouldn't be here. Because when you're stuck in that negativity, bam, they've got you. And it's over. And I don't care how many belts you have, how much training you have. If they get us from behind, the odds are pitiful. Do you appreciate that honesty? Good. Thank you. I appreciate that you appreciate it. Now, this is a tough bottom line, folks. Well, geez. Many people, when the strangle comes, they think, pull it away, pull it away. Would I succeed in trying to pull this away? Never. The force is pulling me backwards. I'm asking you to remember the truth. You've got to face your problems. The minute I turn, there's nothing in the back of my neck to strangle. Did you ever think about that? It's true. Now his hands are tied up, my hands are free. You know what I want. One hand, two hand, I gotta slam that air supply, because the winner's the one who's breathing when it's over. Now, just in case he lassos my neck, come on, he could be from cattle on weekend, women during... If he pulls tightly, my lights are out. But the minute I have the courage to face my assailants, even though I'm falling, stumbling, I want to free that air supply because ideally I want the wind, my throat, into the crisscross of the weapon, whether it's a wire or stocking. Now look at this. I'm going to pull this. Do you see that I'm still able to talk to you? Now my face is turning red because there's a blood choke, but it's slower than an air choke. You want me to stop, don't you? Yeah. That's where I want my throat. Ideally, you have to turn and fight. And what's not honest is that we're standing. We should be tumbling to the ground, okay? One of the worst scenarios that could happen to you and I are attacks like this in our car. It's one of the few places where our mobility is really, really minimal. So this is not the time for you to sit in your car going, did I forget to lock my door? Folks, I believe in locking doors, but I am imperfect too. Whether your door is locked or not locked, you do not deserve to be strangled. Do you understand? Get off that guilt and start fighting for your family. And you do that by protecting your air and getting his. That means you turn that neck of yours. It turns farther than you think. You've just not tested it. Come on. It doesn't need to be 100% freedom. Partial freedom means air will continue to flow. Then it is critical that you fight. Now, if you're lucky when you reach back, there's hair. There may be no hair. Then you're going to just keep on trying. You're going to find ears and eyes and nose. And by the way, people talk about gouging eyes and slamming noses for protection. You will notice I did not. It is because I know you have significant disgust with the concept of body fluid. And it's so major league of an issue for some of you, you would say, I'd rather die than gouge eyes. That is why I emphasize the throat, because it is a button that shuts the whole body down. When you gouge eyes, you only stop the eyes. When you hit a nose, you're impairing. Yeah, there's bleeding, some oxygen adjustments, but not near the drama of stopping the throat. Does that make sense to you? Please, as you're struggling, don't stop there. You've got to continue till you have the throat, okay? And this, by far, is one of the worst scenarios that could occur to us. So, good news. You've got to turn and slam. The winner's the one who's breathing when it's over. So now we're going to move on to other kinds of weapons, and I want to assure you that our gun up here is a theatrical gun. Real bullets don't fit in it, and I am not going to be shot, nor any of you. So let's discuss that safety issue. I guarantee that should any of us be confronted by someone who is armed, gun or knife, we will be holding our breath. Please accept that. The issue is how quickly can you get the air back? If you can think about people you love, I promise you, you'll pull yourself together most rapidly. The question at this point, my friends, is who is holding this gun? Does it make sense to you that a thief with a gun is a very different problem than a psychotic with a gun? Oh, listen. Please know that your composure is critical. One of the most powerful statements you can make is, what do you want from me? Ask him. And I pray to goodness it's a thief, because if it's a thief, he will tell you. If he's not telling you what he wants, he's grabbing at it. Please don't resist a thief. Comply. On a good day, they leave and it's over. Is that correct? You've been traumatized? Mm-hmm. You have your family take you out to dinner and buy you something because you're great. And you get past this, and you will. Thieves are out there, and they are armed. The problem is when they throw your things down, that's not enough. They want you. At this point, for what it's worth, if you're dealing with a frustrated person, does it make sense to you to try to talk? Oh, God, how can I help you? Is there anything I can do to help you? For what it's worth, if they talk back, who's really in control? You are. So remember that them venting is your power. This is a time in your life you have to make a choice to either agree with them or not agree with them. So when somebody charges verbally back at you, are they going to be right or wrong? Come on, are you going to agree with what they say? Yes! Yeah, because, no, you're the lousiest employee we ever had. Oh, Lord. No. You need to agree. For what it's worth, I want you to lie to them with love. Is that a phrase that makes sense? I'm fighting for my life with my mouth. Oh, God, please let me help. Please, I can help you. You say whatever it takes to keep them calm. On a good day, it might just work. On a bad day, you might find that abusing your body is what they need, the sense of power. If it's about rape, you've got to make a choice. Remember what we said about evidence. What you and I have to realize is sometimes people rape then kill. And at that point, when he's not interested in my stuff, when my words of calmness are not helping this end, when sacrificing my body is either not an issue or it's already been sacrificed, and I know this gun is going to shoot, am I in big trouble? Yes, I have got to do something about the power of this weapon. And let me tell you again, folks, we are not zero. So here we go. I'm going to pretend that all the options are gone, escape, running, everything. I'm going to be shot. So my goal is to protect my kill zone. That's inside your head, your neck, and your stomach and chest cavity area. Because you can't afford to be shot or stabbed here. This is very serious. However, we can live through shots or stabbing in the arms and the shoulders, correct? The legs and the feet? Yeah. So the question in violence isn't are you shot or stabbed, but where are you shot or stabbed? Big difference. So here's my goal. All the options are over. I've got to put my hand on the barrel of the gun. I've got to knock it down or up or to the side quickly to clear my kill zone. It doesn't matter if it's right-handed, left-handed, sideways, standing, kneeling, sleeping. It's irrelevant. If he's got it aimed at my kill zone, I'm in big trouble. I've got to do something to minimize the price tag. Now remember that guns don't kill people. Bullets kill people. The only exception is when they beat you over the head with it. In that case, realize that it's the barrel, the direction of the barrel, that's what we have to focus on. Technically, if Mike holds this over my shoulder, this is not my problem. This is your problem. Okay? Y'all need to laugh here. I know you're holding your breath quite a bit through this. So the bottom line is get your hand on the barrel of the gun. Be willing to accept the fact your hand will be burned, possibly shot. That's number one. That is number two. You take the hair away. Huh? The weapon is not the force. Who's breathing is the issue here, my friends. Huh? Pretty amazing. I am not suggesting that you wrestle the gun away. Do you see why? Deadly choices. And come on, my ability to out-muscle him is questionable. But I can deflect it to a place where maybe it shoots my leg and not my heart. So now we're going to put some speed on this and hang with me. What would you do? What do you want from me? Ask him, quickly. If it's about stuff, give up stuff. You know, they say remain calm. What they mean is breathe deeply. Give up stuff. Hopefully it's ended. But it's not ending. What's left? How can I help you? Talk. Is it about rape? Consider it. It's your choice. But when you know this bullet is going to fire, do you understand this is a fatal wound? So I've got nothing to lose but to try to knock it away. Now it's just gone into my shoulder and out my back. Will I live through a shot like that? Yes, and I've got to struggle for his throat. We are both injured. I want to hit and run. Just like before, hit and run. Now, putting yourself in my shoes again, he's got it aimed right towards my heart. What do you want from me? Negotiate. Is it my stuff? Is it about my body? But when you feel it's about you have nothing to lose but to try to knock it away. Now, I'm going to explain to you something very honest that happens here. The barrel of the gun, by my pushing it, I just got it shoved and caught in my clothing. The only thing I can suggest that we do about this is petition our human resource departments to allow us to go to work naked. You people have got to laugh. This is heavy. I know this is heavy. You can do this. I know you can. When you redirect the barrel of that gun, I will be blunt with you. Point A, where he put it, will probably be fatal. I don't care how imperfect you are. If you can just move it a little bit, even if it doesn't clear your body, odds are it's better to be shot there than initially point A. Can you buy into that? Sure you can. I know you can. So, what do we do about a person who's tangling up our arms? Somehow, for some reason, things went down fast. I've only got one hand free. Should I go for his throat or should I go for the barrel of the gun? What do you think? Absolutely go for the barrel of the gun. If I go for his throat, we both go down. Number one with weapons is you've got to grab the weapon first. Put it at a less critical place. Get it down! Get it down! Oh, geez! You gotta go for his throat. Oh, gee. Well. I think several of you were shot and I was not. All the energy needs to be in the barrel of the gun, away from your kill zone. Are you going to fall? Absolutely. This is the way it is. Your clothing's going to rip and tear. You're going to lose your jewelry. Then you take the air supply. Go for the throat, okay? Now, what do we do about a person who holds a gun even just this far away? Some people say turn sideways. Well, that's true for some people more than others. No. Please understand what this is. This is an assassination. Anytime we're dealing with a person with distance and a high-powered weapon, excuse me, what are the odds of through an assassination? Do you remember? Slim to none. We have a problem called workplace violence going on all over this nation. Violence in schools where this scenario is playing out too often. The only hope you and I have is an extraordinary performance based on love. Because as this upset employee comes back and wants to take on the boss and everybody in the whole department, if you greet them at the door with horror, "What are you doing here?" they're going to shoot you. Your response is critical. As they come forward, oh God, how can I help you? You got to turn immediate into a person on their side. Is it true? Well, you better believe it is. Oh God, Mike, what they did to you isn't fair. What you don't realize, you've been gone now for a couple of weeks. We've got people, it's a committee. We've been trying to work on your, please put that down before somebody sees it. Put it down. If I talk and can get him to start talking and start to vent, who really is in control? That's right. And while he's talking is especially when I can carefully, through tiny steps, attempt to move in. In addition, remember that loving dialogue involves your head bobbing like this. Because this head says, I care about you, I hear you. Huh? Yes, you are right. Because body language is critical. This is the performance of your life, my friends. Talk and talk and talk. I hope that you can talk them into putting that gun away. And please promise them you will not tell anyone, not the police, no one. Make promises you have no intention of keeping. Okay? Whatever they need to hear, you say it. You'll have a sense for it. And as you continue to walk further, with every step I take, can I be shot? Oh, you bet. I'm shot anyway. See, I have nothing to lose. And hopefully, if I can capture this person's heart, if I can become entrusted, I can close in the space. And once I enclose that space, I have to charge the barrel of that gun. Because as long as it's over here, nobody's being shot. Then you know what I have to do. And this is a sad thing to have to talk about in these times. I can only share with you a very powerful idea I bet you've never thought about. It is good news when a violent assailant puts a gun close to you, when they actually are touching your skin. Now, that doesn't mean you stop and say, thank you for putting that gun to my head. Not necessary. Because within your space, your odds are very high to outmaneuver them, if you know, to grab the weapon and struggle for their throat. Bad news is someone confident enough to stand distance, because this is when our odds to survive are very, very low. Does that make sense to you? Please understand the truth about weapons. The odds will never be 50-50 that you and I are going to make it. It's never fair and never equal. Come on, they're armed and you're not. But the odds don't have to be 100-0, do they? No. I'm asking you to breathe, to put on a performance verbally. Come on. And for what it's worth, know the power of protecting your space, closing in, grabbing weapons and slamming windpipes. That's the bottom line. So, now that I know you've absorbed that, let me share with you how this fits with other weapons that could be used against us. And if I do nothing, look at the price tag here. Huh? I've got nothing to lose but to think of my limbs and my arms, my legs and my arms rather, as barriers to grab whatever the weapon is. Choose to take it at its most dangerous point with your hands and your arms. That's number one. Now, I'm not going to wrestle it away because I can't. But I can go for his throat. And the winner's the one who's breathing when it's over, not the one with the hammer when it's over. Okay? All right. Jeez. Oh, geez, something shiny's coming out of nowhere. It's a dark parking lot. You just put your hands up and don't be stunned. And don't be shocked if it goes through your body. Come on. Where does it go? As long as it's a lesser place, it's all right. We're focused on air supply. That's all you've learned from me. Who's breathing and getting their throats? A bottle coming out of nowhere. If I do nothing, I'm in big, but I can stop it, put it where I want it. So I'm cut down here. So what? I want his throat. Now, let me ask you something. Are you wondering what we do during domestic violence at our house? Gardners aren't. No! Get out of here from behind! It's always bad from behind! You put that weapon where you want it to go. And the focus is throat. Strike the throat. You're fighting for your family. Okay. Okay. How many of you will acknowledge that you're more frightened of knives than guns? Any of you? Thank you for your honesty. Let me assure you that the answer doesn't change. We have to have the courage of going for the most dangerous part of this weapon, which of course is the blade. I'm going to ask you as a result of this training to please find it in your heart to start, if you have to, with a plastic knife, work up to a butter knife, and ultimately to the sharpest knife in your home. It might take you about a week every day, doing a little bit, and then rant and rave. You should have been there. I'm telling you, this woman, she's different. She doesn't shut up and her husband doesn't talk. Oh. Well, they care about me or they wouldn't have been sponsoring this message. So this is a message with meat. This is not fluff. This is not guilt. This is power. Then you release the hold on that knife and see, you're not cut. Please get comfortable with blades touching your skin. All your life you were told, don't touch the blade, don't touch the blade. At Gardner House, we tell our kids, Jackie, have you grabbed this blade lately? Mom, that's not tough. You cannot live your life with knife and gun phobia. Do you hear me? Because if you have a phobia, you'll never deal with the real violence. So as this knife is coming, my friends, it doesn't change. It's just scarier. Absolutely. You got to breathe. For my family, I'm going to put my hands in the way. And I'm going to choose to put my hands around that blade because by George, when it's here, it's not here. That's number one, is grabbing that and going, of course, second for the throat. Now understand there is going to be movement. The tighter you grab this weapon, the less injury you'll have. Does it make sense? Death grip here. Weapon first, windpipe second. And of course, with that body fluid, there's a slipperiness there. We're being blunt here. You've got to focus on the blade. Where are those blades going? You've got to choose to take that injury here. Please. You know what I know about you? If you saw a knife going towards your parent, towards your little child, you wouldn't hesitate to block it with your hand without this lesson from me. See, this is in you. I'm just bringing it up to believe in it for you. This first, that second. Now, quite frankly, I'm most frightened of a knife that is at my throat, because at your throat is your carotid artery, your jugular vein, and your windpipe, of course, right behind the skin line. Now, the good news that you might not have thought about is large knives. Large knives are good news because they're usually duller. For sure, they're easier to see and to grab, especially at your throat. They're going to go past your throat. So in that case, I want to grab what's hanging over, and believe it or not, leverage is on my side. It's just the guts to do this. You got to get those hands in there and pull that sucker away, and as you're struggling, even falling to the ground, you've then got to struggle to cause injury to the throat. Please let go of my hair, Mike. This is as close as I'm ever going to get to being a movie star, and you're messing up the hair. My biggest fear, my friends, is a small knife. You know those knives that are sharp on both sides? I have fear too. Come on, I'm just like you. Take your hands and dig them into your throats for a second. I want you to see how much space you can create. It's pretty dramatic. Because in this hideous situation, when they don't want your stuff, this is not about rape. When you feel your neck is going to be cut, you and I have no choice but to choose the part of you that pays that price. So I'm going to beg you to dig your fingers into your throat. Dig in there and jam behind that knife. That's your whole complete focus. Right here, roaring and hanging on. Then struggling to get his air. Does it make sense? One of the issues I know you're dealing with is pain. Oh, God, it's going to hurt. May I assure you, you'll feel no pain. We are blessed in a crisis environment with a natural number in the brain. It's been scientifically proven. They call it an endorphin release. It's a natural number that allows us to tolerate extraordinary pain. Not all day, but the moments of this hell, my friends, pain is not the issue. The issue is, are you breathing? There is a wonderful man that I know who survives numerous hatchet attacks across his head and his back. And then as he struggled for the hatchet, his whole family witnessed this horror. Somebody broke into his home. Then the assailant had a knife and was able to pull the knife out, and my friend was stabbed many times. And the police came after about 3 minutes, which quite frankly is an extraordinary response time. His wife misdialed 911, first time out. It's hard to do in a vicious setting like that. And I shared to you when I met this extraordinary man. He had not seen our program ahead of time. I said, I need you to validate 2 very important issues. Number 1, how did it feel to take those kinds of hits? A hatchet. And he said what we needed to hear. Debbie, I didn't feel anything. In fact, it was a couple of days into the hospital before any real feelings came back on anything. Now, folks, sometimes victims feel stuff later in ambulances. Of course, his attack was dramatic. And then I asked him something very important. I said to him, and what did you say to yourself? Because I'm so convinced that there are voices and pictures in the mind in a crisis, and I'm wondering if you can tell me about yours. And he shared with me the love of his family, praying that every strike touch his skin. Hit me, not my family. Is that man alive today because of self-defense classes or because of love? Come on, you tell me. Love. Please understand that love is the greatest source of power and strength any of us can ever draw upon. And we must listen to the masters like this extraordinary man, because he has the real truth. I'm a mere teacher. I will say to you that Mike has slipped and stabbed me twice doing these seminars. And it really hurt when you people in the healthcare professional cleaned it out. Yes, eventually there's pain. But pain is not the issue at the time. Breathing is the issue at the time. So keeping that in mind, let's talk about the things that people want us to buy for our safety. There's all kinds of gadgets. You know, these little electric makers, these stun gun kinds of things. Okay, sure, up against yeah, there's some pain going there, but is pain going to save your life or injury? Injury. If somebody is coming out of nowhere with something like this, let me use the head of my first husband to demonstrate. He didn't do the dishes one night. I said, enough with you. No, just kidding. Come on, if you already have this investment, it's a good thing to grip if it happens to be in your, ram it in his throat. No, you have injury. All right, same with these chemical sprays. Well, I have the same brand the police department uses. Good for you. But do you also have the same brand of gun when the chemical fails? You see, that's the edge that the cops have got that you don't have. If this stuff worked, friends, believe me, I would sell it, I'd be rich, and I wouldn't get thrown around for a living. I am dying for them to make this an effective product to truly injure and to stop violence. That day is not here yet, in my opinion. If you already have one of these, great. It's a good thing to squeeze as you're walking down the street. Turn and ram it right in their throats! Now you have an injury weapon. Are you picking up on a pattern here? Okay. Sound alarms fit the same category. There really is this movement that if we make sound, people will save us. Gosh, wouldn't that be wonderful if that was true? Yes. And since these have all been invented, then, since we all own them, violence should just stop right now, correct? If you have the investment in this and you happen to have it in your hand, yank that chain. Let the noise flail as you ram into their windpipe. Amazing how I smothered that sound so rapidly. You don't live your life believing in products. You live your life believing in your bare hands and love in your heart. This is power, folks. This is it right here. Any of these other things are just toys. The only thing that makes sense that I myself carry and encourage my loved ones to carry is any kind of a handle. Because a handle gives me that natural good grip. It's low key. And I want that handle bigger than my hand. That's a very significant part of this. I want you to consider even a wrench. There's a flashlight. Anything you can find that's bigger than your hand. Flashlights tend to be a little heavy. Some people don't like that. This is something called a Kubaton. It's a police product. I'm not here to promote products. I'm here to tell you that a blunt instrument, a little bigger than your hand, helps you to get a grip, breathe deeply, and as you're following through what we taught you, the blank you want from if you had, ram it right in their throats. What I know about you, let's be very honest. The disgust of striking somebody for saving your life is really not about the injury you cause. It's about the need for you to touch their skin. Come on, be honest. This is nauseating. So I know that if you happen to bend over and pick up a bottle laying in the ground, and if you would be deadly naturally, correct? You would strike somebody with a bottle in a minute. Well, if you want to, you can get a booze bottle from home and put your keys on it and go to work. Create a real name for yourself. So the idea is, let's take this concept called I would be deadly with something in my hand. Let's put something subtle in your hand. Any kind of a lightweight handle is the only thing I recommend. If you drop it, hey, that is the backup. This is the best. Right here, the love I can generate out of my bare hands. Please understand, we are members of the largest street gang in the world, Golden People. And I'm begging you to accept membership in the finest gang that exists. A membership where we feel comfortable knowing that we've got the right to defend our life, our liberty, and our pursuit of happiness. Do you understand? That is the foundation that this country was founded on. Let's not lose it. And in addition to that, I know people say, oh, but everything's going haywire. Everything is not going haywire. There still is more good than bad. Huh? There's statistics, there's things to scare you, and I want you to focus only on one tip that's worth memorizing. And this is going to blow you away. And if you think I'm wrong, then confront me. Most people are not being attacked most of the time. Think about it. All that matters is the rare seconds in your life when you are seriously tested, specifically, what are you going to do? We started this program and you said nothing. I hope you walk out of here high, with your heads held high, knowing that you're going to do a whole lot different now. Number one, you know to breathe. Beyond that, real prevention is about protecting your space by lying to people or cursing at them when escape isn't possible. And when that isn't enough, if they have a weapon at your kill zone, you're going to grab that weapon at all costs to your limbs and strike them in the throat. I'm going to put this into 4 words. Ready? Breathe, space, grab, throat. Do you think you can remember that all your life? Yes, you can. Can you teach this to people you love? Yes, you can. Can you really do this someday if you're tested? Yes, you can. I applaud you for maybe the first time in your life for sincerely believing in yourself. Thank you so much for your dedication and time being with me today. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much.